Our area's most beautiful properties deserve the finest realtors. Meeks Realty Group. We focus on buying and selling residential and commercial properties throughout the tri-state area. Contact Meeks Realty Group online at meeks.us or call 304-440-1101.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 580 WCHS, its employees, or WVRC Media. From the studios of WVRC Media, the country, the United States of America, the state, West Virginia, the city, Charleston. This is the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live. And your host.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
He's kind of a big deal.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Dave Allen.
And a good Thursday morning to you. Welcome to the show. The boss, Dale Cooper, serving as a producer today. Biggly, Piggly, Wiggly hotline 304-345-5858. Fruit Pharmacy text 304-935-5008. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live brought to you by Thornhill Auto Group, including Thornhill Toyota. The Toyota National Sales Event continues. Come check out the 2024 Camry, the Corolla, the all-new Crown, or the new 2024 RAV4 or Highlander gas. Qualified buyers on those can get 3.99% APR for up to 60 months. See them for all the details. Visit on the Thornhill Motor Mile, US 119 in Chapmanville, or online, ThornhillToyotaWV.com. Toyota, let's go places. And we do the show from the Par-Mar Store Studio. Par-Mar, the Written Family Foundation, best price and fair price again, offering the Par-Mar Stores Scholarship, available to any high school senior or undergraduate student from West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, or Kentucky. Pretty much anywhere where Par-Mar has a store, open to any student currently enrolled in college, university, trade school, or any other technical program, post-high school. Applications and details available at parmarstores.com under the community tab. Deadline is at the end of this month, and if there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon. Well, we could be looking at more severe weather today. Don't know if it's going to be as bad as what we saw last Tuesday or not. Time will tell. Meteorologist Bryan Hughes from StormTracker 13 is going to join us to talk about that a little bit later on. Plus, if you're a fan of the West Virginia University Mountaineers and all things blue and gold, there's a big event happening on Saturday, and we're going to talk to a member of the WVU Kanawha Valley Alumni Association about that coming up a little bit later on as well. I got a breaking news story here I need to put out here. It's actually happened last night, and we will have more available on it at WVMetroNews.com and at WCHSNetwork.com. But WCHS Television, no relation, Eyewitness News reporting that Charleston Police Chief Scott Dempsey confirmed to them that the investigation into Tyke Hunt, former police chief, was complete, and that he is currently suspended. That is according to Chief Dempsey. He did confirm that the investigation wrapped up earlier this month, and that Tyke Hunt's suspension started on Monday. Now, Chief Dempsey could not confirm how long the suspension would be. Kind of breaking news, as I said, just reported by Eyewitness News Television, no relation, and Jeff and the crew will have more on that coming up a little bit later on. But welcome into the show, Greg Thomas, Republican strategist. Hey, man.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So, what's new with you?
Busy.
What? Is there something going on we should know about?
Busy, man. There's, a lot of campaigns have been going for a while, right? I mean, I think a lot of your sort of the bigger races have been pretty active kind of immediately after the legislative session, and now you're seeing kind of stuff from a lot of the county-wide level races and delegate races, and obviously, people have been seeing the governor's stuff for a little while, governor's race stuff, but really busy, man. I think it's going to be it's weird, I think the interest level in this year's election is very high among people that follow politics. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of activity, especially on the Republican side, to where you're going to see, I think that's going to keep the turnout up. But I do think there are a lot of people that are just so disaffected by the stuff going on in Washington that, they're just kind of have thrown their hands up, and it's like, why even do this? So I think we're going to end up with sort of a medium level turnout, because I think you're just going to get like people that are even somewhat interested in politics are going to be going out. So I think it's like sort of high on that end, but on the other end of like, well, should I even go? And the fact that, neither of the presidential race, the presidential races are over too. So there's like not a reason to go vote for Trump other than just sort of the sentiment, right? And I do think there's a lot of that. I mean, we hear it, we do a lot of door to door, and we hear it, people say that like, I'm going to vote for Trump, even though it doesn't matter if they go or not, they're going to vote for Trump. So I think, so I think you're going to see pretty good turnout.
I'm going to give a little preview of something that's going to happen next hour on Talkline, top of the show, and you don't want to miss this. Hoppy, segment 1 we'll have on Rex Repass of Research West Virginia with the results of the Metro News West Virginia poll and the race for the Republican nomination for governor. I don't know what those results are. I'll be listening like everyone else at 10:06 as Hoppy and Rex will break all that down. Again, that's top of the hour next hour, 10:06. But Greg, most polls have shown Morris in the lead, kind of a flip-flop on some between Moore Capito and Chris Miller with Mac Warner in fourth. My takeaway, though, as I said yesterday, is, and we're a month away from the election, man, undecided is still in second place. And I know a lot of West Virginians still haven't made up their mind yet in the Republican race for governor.
I would say that in a poll, I would say if you took there's different ways to take a survey, and that's why, people will say, well, these polls so different. And one of the reasons is you can ask a poll and just be like, all right, here's the 4 people running, who are you going to vote for, right? And if you just do that and say, okay, well, I pick A, B, C, D, right? And then other polls like really force them. It's like, well, if you had to pick today, just tell me a name. Which name? You know what I mean? And they sort of force you into a ballot. If you don't have live callers that are really forcing somebody into a decision, undecided is the winner right now, and so it really is. It still is up for grabs. Obviously, Morrissey's has been in a commanding position the entire campaign so far. Look, he's been around for a while. He's been the attorney general. He's run statewide several times. He ran for U.S. Senate and lost a mansion. So his name ID is very high. Now, obviously, not everybody that knows him likes him, which is why he doesn't have a commanding, overwhelming lead. But he certainly has a lead. And, Chris Miller has come on. Obviously, he was in fourth on January 1st. And now in most polls, he's second. And he's really coming on strong, and he's running a very aggressive campaign, not only to promote his own stuff, but to go after Morrissey. And then you kind of have
and
more,
vice versa.
Yeah. And he's coming.
There's some. If you would think if you turn on your television, at least right now, and to some point radio, if you turned it on, that there's only 2 people in this race, and that's Miller and Morrissey.
And those 2 are going at it. And their
PACs are too.
Yeah.
The PACs loyal to one.
Those campaigns have the most resources by far. Yeah. I think Moore Capito's kind of sitting in a position where obviously, long time, his family's been involved in politics for a long time. There's a certain amount of people who just know him. He sort of covers that niche of the party where these guys are kind of fighting all over the hardcore conservative votes, and he's sort of over here, kind of on the more moderate side, getting his votes. And then, I'll say with Mac Warner, I ran David McKinley's congressional race all the way back in like 2010. And that also was there were like 5 people in the race, but it was really similar. You had McKinley and that Sarah Manier going after each other, and Mac was just kind of sitting there like floating off in the middle while those 2 backed up each other and was kind of coming up the middle. And so I think that's sort of where Moore is. I think that's sort of where Mac is. So we'll just see. I will say, Chris Miller's ads have been really, really, really good. And I think that's what's gotten him close. I think his energy level is very high. But look, there's a lot of people that like all 4 of these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yesterday, Greg, the presumptive Democratic nominee for governor, Huntington Mayor Steve Williams, said in a statement, he was actually on with Hoppy yesterday, he wants the governor to place a constitutional amendment guaranteeing access to abortion and reproductive health care on the agenda for an upcoming special session. The statement was by Mayor Williams. He said, and from a PR standpoint, this was actually pretty good on his part. He said, in his words, I'm calling on Governor Justice to follow former President Trump's lead by putting a constitutional amendment about abortion on the call for the special session, end quote. Now, the former President, Trump, of course, is angering a lot of Republicans at this point by saying that he would not sign a federal abortion ban if he were to be elected this year. He says it should be left to the states. Williams puts out this statement that says he wants it on the call for the special session. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think when you leave it up to the states, it doesn't mean you leave it up to like a popular vote, right? I mean, you leave it up to the
the governing bodies.
Yeah, so I think that's a misrepresentation of what Trump said. I think, Williams is, taking advantage of an issue that was in the news because of something Trump said. Essentially up to this point, nobody, I mean, honestly, I hadn't heard anything about Steve Williams in like 2 months until you brought that up.
Well, I mean, he just he doesn't have to do a whole lot right now.
He doesn't have to. And, so I think it's just something, you look at it and say, hey, what can I say here? It does two things for him, right? I mean, it kind of fires up his base a little bit. They're obviously the Democratic Party, wholeheartedly, well, not say wholeheartedly, but the majority of the Democrats support abortion. And then I think, it just kind of gets them in the news a little bit. I mean, obviously, that's not something that's going to get done. Mm-hmm. I think the legislature did exactly. If you were to take a poll in West Virginia and say, where are you on the abortion issue? That's where the legislature put their legislation, right? The majority of West Virginians want a ban on abortion with those exceptions, right? Rape, incest, life of the mother, all that stuff. And that's where, if you take – and I know that because I've seen those polls, So I know that's what it would say. That's where the legislature landed. I would be hard-pressed to think that we move from that position anytime in the next decade or two.
Lead story this morning, Greg, WVMetroNews.com. The governor going at it again with legislative leadership. The governor yesterday said more could be done to help storm victims from last Tuesday's storms had the legislature agreed with a $50 million allocation that was in his proposed budget. Now, Senate Finance Chair Tarr responded by saying, quote, Governor Justice is either dumb or plain dumb, end quote. Tarr also, along with House Speaker Hanshaw, Roger Hanshaw issued a statement yesterday, too, saying pretty much the governor can already do what he wants to do with his contingency fund, and he doesn't need to help with the legislature.
I didn't see that one, so I mean, I think this is look, you're always going to have this sort of tension between what the governor can do. Look, I'm sure if those guys said it, I'm sure the governor can do that stuff. And I'm sure if the governor said it, he wishes the legislators had given him more control. Everybody wants to have more control and more power and more flexibility with how they can do stuff. And that's the tension you have. Even with an overwhelmingly majority, Republican state like we have, you're still going to have those, policy differences among them. So look, I don't know the specifics of this, but I'm sure, maybe just bringing this to the attention, make sure that these storm victims get the things they need. I'll tell you what, man, we had a little damage at our home, just minor, but we were doing some door-to-door up in St. Albans, and the more you got to the top of the hill, especially like Hughes Road and stuff like that, it was really bad. I mean, I knew there were trees down and stuff. I mean, there were people who's lost their homes. I mean, the trees were right down in the middle of it. It was terrible, man. I really, really feel for those folks.
And we've got more on the way today.
Yeah, it was something else. Look, I'm sure these guys will figure it out, get these people help. Because it certainly was a tough situation.
Let me get to this before we get to the break. I'm going to have you stick around after the break. I don't know if you've been following this whole controversy around state senator and candidate for AG Mike Stewart. The Mingo County Deputy Sheriff's Association issued a support letter for Mike Stewart in his race against J.B. McCuskey for Attorney General. The widow of Sergeant Corey Maynard of the state police, that's a trooper who was killed in the line of duty last June, feels that Mike Stewart has been using her husband's death for campaign purposes. The Deputy Sheriff's Association of Mingo County, who put out that letter, later rescinded the letter. Now, Stewart said, and he brought this up Monday night during a debate with J.B. McCuskey that was held at West Virginia State. He said the letter was fake to begin with and that they only issued that in order to rescind it, to make him look bad. That's what Stewart said. Stewart then goes on the X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, yesterday morning, and alluded to the fact that if he were elected, he would be closely looking at corruption in Mingo County, saying something like, well, I've got to start somewhere, which drew the ire of a lot of people, saying that Mike Stewart, if he wins, is threatening to politicize the office.
Look, anytime there are, and look, I'm involved in a lot of campaigns, a lot of judicial campaigns, a lot of campaigns around Attorney General and things like that. And I'm friends with JB and Stewart and have been for a long time. It's very dangerous to get to bring up specific cases in these races, right? Like, you just don't know all the details. You don't know how everybody's going to feel about it.
Well, her take is that it could threaten. The trial is in September, and she says that he's put out information out there that's not been made public.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful with that kind of stuff. I mean, we do that with attorney generals kind of issues all the time. Heck, we had a West Virginia KALA radio ad talking about some of the kind of litigation and lawsuits and stuff that Morrissey had filed. But it's really tough to get in unless something is like done and you have a specific product of here's what happened in the case, here's a judge's order, here's the final sort of, here's the final say. Unless you have that, you got to be really careful about how you handle those situations. And, I like both these guys. I don't like seeing the back and forth there, but, my advice and sort of my perspective on that is if something's not all the way done, I just wouldn't mess with it.
All right. It is 9:23. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you part by your hometown baseball team, the Charleston Dirty Birds. Dirty Birds having a home run derby at Go-Mart Ballpark Saturday the 20th. Gates will open at 5:30 with a home run derby starting at 6:30. Members of the Dirty Birds team will be matched with local community members, maybe even some of our own staff here. Details to come. Tickets are on sale now at dirtybirdsbaseball.com. Kids 12 and under get in for free. I'll ask Greg to stick around because I want to talk about the court system when we come back right after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Are you looking for a technical job in the medical field? Generations is growing and looking to add on job-trained physical therapy techs to our rehab team. To apply, visit one of our 7 convenient locations or simply click on us at generationspt.com.
Hi, I'm David McCormick, owner of Omega Commercial Interiors. We'd like to thank you, West Virginia, for making us the #1 office furniture and commercial interiors company in West Virginia. Remember, when you're looking for quality office furniture and space planning for healthcare, corporate offices, or even a private office, call us and buy local. Omega Commercial Interiors. We're a proud West Virginia company. Visit us online at omegacommercialinteriors.com in Morgantown and Charleston.
Dwayne Duncan is a Republican running for Kanawha County Commission. We know that we can trust Republican Dwayne Duncan to deliver for Kanawha County families. Dwayne Duncan wants lower taxes, more jobs, and will fight the crime problem in Kanawha County. Dwayne Duncan is a Republican and proven job creator. Taxes are too high for Kanawha County. Let's vote to keep more of our hard-earned money. Let's vote for Republican Dwayne Duncan for Kanawha County Commission. Paid for by Dwayne Duncan for Kanawha County Commission. Tori Takubo, Treasurer.
Buckle up. Adventure will never be the same on the Thornhill Motor Mile. Ready, set, go. Hey, it's Sydney inviting you to the new Thornhill Toyota for our amazing deals during the Toyota National Sales Event. Just imagine you in a new 2024 Toyota Camry, Corolla, or all-new Crown. Or step up with a Toyota SUV like a new 2024 RAV4 or Highlander Gas, where you can enjoy 3.99% financing for 60 months. So many possibilities. Ready, set, go to the new Thornhill Toyota. The Thornhill Motor Mile, US 119 in Chapmanville. Click or come by ThornhillToyotaWV.com and let's go places. Must qualify for all offers through Toyota Financial expires April 1st, 2024. Shop Thornhill to get yours.
9:25, a Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Fresh Air. They'll change those heating and cooling unit air filters for your home, your retail establishment, business, restaurant, church, whatever. They can also build custom filters for you. They offer 24-hour emergency service available. Visit freshairfilters.us or call 304-440-1104 for Fresh Air, because everyone deserves fresh air. Greg Thomas is with it. Greg, I want to talk about a group that you're a part of, West Virginia Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse, KALA, if you prefer KALA. There was an article that came out earlier this week in the West Virginia Record, and I'm just going to read from the article. It says, quote, a conservative legal reform group is calling out the re-election campaigns of 2 longtime circuit judges for receiving a bulk of their contributions from personal injury attorneys. One of those judges listed was Judge Ronald Wilson in the Northern Panhandle and Kanawha Circuit Judge Jennifer Bailey. Now, as it pertains to Judge Bailey, we'll focus locally here. The article, Greg, talked about fundraisers held by Judge Bailey and some TV ads run by, according to the article and according to other press releases. The ads are funded by a group of liberals out of Texas. The group is taking issue with the amount of money coming into both campaigns by personal injury attorneys. I guess the question, Greg, is this common for personal injury lawyers, many of whom advertise on this station, so nothing against injury lawyers, Is it common for them to get this involved in judges' races, in local races?
Yeah, I mean, they are pretty big. The personal injury lawyers are pretty big donors to campaigns, and have been traditionally. You're seeing a lot of that again this year. I do have to add the caveat here of because Jennifer Bailey's opponent I'm engaged to Ashley Deem, so I'm like
I was going to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I'm not allowed. I didn't have anything to do with that. I can't have anything to do with their statements about her and all that, and I can't speak kind of specifically to that race. But look, the personal injury lawyers have played a big role. I mean, they go all the way back to 2004. I mean, they put in millions of dollars for Warren McGraw. And so it is something that they put a lot of money in. We haven't. This is really the first year you've had competitive circuit judge races. You know what I mean? And so I think that's, sort of a first. I mean, they've traditionally given to those. I mean, I don't think giving to those campaigns is out of the norm. Giving to this level is a new thing. And I think part of this is because you don't have. You have two state Supreme Court races that don't even have any opponents, right? I mean, Charlie Trump and Haley Bunn don't even have opponents, right? So that's, so you're seeing a lot of attention on these circuit court races, whether there's a big race up in Morgantown, there's one in Wheeling, there's, a couple here locally. There's a big one out in Grant County with my buddy Judge Robert Ryan. So you have some across the state. So I think it's, that's a new thing. That we're seeing, and another new thing too is these races are nonpartisan, but the West Virginia Republican Party had come out and made endorsements recently too.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was taking a look at some of those that they have issued. The Republican Party, the nonpartisan. This is available on their website, by the way. I'm looking at it now. It's the nonpartisan judicial candidate information, and it is a list of those from around the state for Supreme Court circuit judges on down that they are, I guess, endorsing. Yeah,
I think they put together like a subcommittee that sort of looked at these nonpartisan races. Locally, you had judges like Judge Dyer and Judge Ashley up in that Jackson Roan that got endorsements. John Hoover out in Putnam County got the Republican Party endorsement. Here in Kanawha County, some of these don't even have opponents, but you had, Stephanie Abraham, Mary Claire Akers, Dave Hardy got endorsements, and then a couple of the contested races here. Ashley Deem got the Republican Party endorsement. Eric Cantrell got the Republican Party endorsement. So, so you got some firsts here and I think it really is just, you used to have a lot of activity at the Supreme Court level, and now that you don't have that, you've got a lot of activity at the circuit court level, and then we have a competitive intermediate court race too. Sure. That's the first time that that's a newly created court. It's the first time we've ever had that. You've got three people in that one. Former state Republican Party chair Elgin McCardle is running. Unsurprisingly, she got the state Republican Party endorsement. Ryan White, who's a local attorney, former Board of Education member here in Kanawha County, is running a big campaign, has got a lot of resources. And then I think there's Michael Schultz from Charleston is running as well, and I don't know as much about him.
He's been on the show in the past. He was on the show a couple of months ago. But here's the thing I find very interesting, Greg, and this is just kind of where we are right now. One of the biggest races in Kanawha County is going to be for magistrate. There's like 8,421 people running for magistrate. I was going to bring
that up, man. I mean, we go to a lot of these county level events, man. There are just so many of them. It's not something I ever really paid attention to be honest. And now that we're doing a lot of this county stuff, you see it, but there really are so many of them.
I mean, my phone rings off the hook with people, want, and I try to make time available for them. But here's the thing about it. I always ask if I have somebody that's running for judge, for magistrate, whatever on the show, I always have to ask them, what is your political party? It shouldn't matter, but if I don't, I get texts from people saying, why didn't you ask them what their party was, whatever. So
these races, and you'll say, and heck, you can see it in Ashley's ads that run out there, right? It's every time you mention, hey, I'm a Republican running in the nonpartisan race for whatever, right? Like it's something that you have to do. But I will tell you, if you're out there campaigning and you don't lead with it, right? It's like, oh, I'm running for whatever judge, or they're running for magistrate. They're, they don't want to get into it, but the voters, just like your callers,
they want to know.
It's the first thing they ask.
Yeah,
man.
It's a simple Google search to find it out anyway. Or going to Secretary of State.
You're allowed to say. You just have to say, hey, I'm a Republican. I'm a Republican,
but I'm a nonpartisan race.
But I'm running in a nonpartisan race, and I think that's fine to do. But it really is, what voters want to know about.
Yeah. All right, let me knock out some text here for you, because you always get text. Text says, Greg's organization, West Virginians Against Lawsuit Abuse, has been putting out horrible ads against Morrissey. How can you be objective when you obviously are against Patrick Morrissey? Why are you doing that, Greg? Well, number one, I don't think you were asked to be objective.
Yeah, why would anybody think I would be?
I mean, I asked you one point on this show. So when somebody, I think the last time you were on, somebody said, "Who is Greg supporting for governor?" And you said anybody but Patrick Morrissey. That's what you said. You don't have to be objective.
It's a weird thing. I'm not. I am a political consultant. I do this for a living. I lobby. I have a government relations firm. I do business consulting. But it's not. I'm not getting paid by any of the gubernatorial candidates. I mean, look, I think the caller would have a point if I were getting paid by a certain campaign, right? Like if I were getting paid by a campaign, look, I just talked about court races, but said, hey, I can't specifically get into details of this because of my, relationship with Ashley Dean, right? So I would have to do that if I had that's a personal relationship. If I had a professional relationship, I would offer that up as well. I don't have one in that race. I do feel like I can be as objective as I can be as a voter, right? I mean, I'm still despite the fact that I'm a political consultant, I still have rights, right? I still have the First Amendment still applies to me.
You're actually a human being.
Yeah. I vote.
Questionable at times, but you're actually a human being.
Yeah, man.
All right, text says, the judicial hellhole reputation of West Virginia is a lobby effort from wealthy business owners trying to jam the people's access to the court, protecting businesses. Why not highlight that? People being able to access the legal system is not a bad thing, despite what a well-funded lobby tells you. Try some skepticism, Dave.
If the business, okay, let's just say that's true. Let's give this person, it's not entirely true, but let's just say that's true. If the business community comes out and says this jurisdiction has really unfair courts and we don't want to be there, should that matter? Right? Like if you're somebody that's looking for a job, if you're somebody that's trying to grow the economy, if you're somebody that's doing that, and you've got a national business organization or a national legal reform organization that has business members and healthcare provider members, and these are people that create jobs and take care of folks and do all that stuff, and they say your court system's really, really unfair, should that matter?
Right. Yeah.
And the reality is it should very much matter. Yeah. And one of the reasons that West Virginia was in 50th for so long was because we had a terrible broken legal system. We had some of the highest taxes in the country. With respect to the labor union bosses had total control of whatever they wanted, and we were dead last forever because of those greedy, power-hungry people. That's a reality, buddy. That's a reality. And there's no PR. You don't need you're the ones that liberals are the ones that need a PR campaign to try to say that wasn't our fault. All the people that have died of drug overdoses and everything that's happened in Kanawha County because we've had a terrible economy and all the things they've done to it, they're the ones that need a PR campaign to cover up the damage that they've done to our families.
Text says, Greg, Republicans and conservatives think life begins at conception. How come we don't hear them pushing for changing the tax code to include the children in the womb as dependents? Also, shouldn't guaranteed prenatal care be offered if the government is forcing women to give birth?
I don't know about, I don't have any idea about why the tax thing would, I don't know. I don't know the details of the tax thing. I'm assuming this is a Democrat that's called in to try to bid me on. I just don't know. I don't know the answer to either of those.
Text says Chris Miller's the man born on third who thinks he hit a triple.
Look,
let's be honest.
I don't think Chris would deny that he was given an opportunity that most people haven't been given. But I also think that would be a gross overstatement to say that he hasn't done a lot with that business and tremendously grown that business and is a successful business guy. I know Chris really well, and I don't think there's any time he'd be like, oh, I was, born in a ditch and look at me now. You know what I mean? But
he does kind of paint himself as an outsider. I mean, that's kind of what he says. I'm an outsider. And yeah, he may have never run for office. But let's face it, among these four people that are the Republican, none of them are outsiders. I mean, let's be really honest. It's like Trump saying he was an outsider. Trump was not an outsider by any stretch of the imagination. He may have never run for office, but he's been around politics his entire life. Trump was never an outsider, nor is Chris Miller, nor the other three. That's not a knock against them.
No. I think it's just I haven't run for office again, right? I mean, I think there are people that look at it and say, hey, I want somebody in there that hasn't been in there. Right? You know what I mean? Right. So I think you use a generous interpretation of the word outsider.
All right, let me knock out a few more of these before we let you go. Texas, Trump is saying things to get elected. His only solid position is not having a solid position and saying things are immediately beneficial to his goals. Tex says, if Steve Williams is listening, Steve, if Republicans are going to use the government to force births, campaign on getting fetuses the same tax status as children and guaranteed prenatal care, even more guaranteed health care for children of all economic statuses until they're 18, if Republicans are pro-life and pro-children, make them reflect it in their policies.
I think there are definitely things that I think if the party is going to do that, there are things that we can do to improve on that. I mean, I know what they're getting at, and I know they were kind of trying to trip me up with that earlier question that I just couldn't answer. But here's what I'll say: I don't totally disagree with the point they're making, though. I really don't. I mean, I do think there are things. I think their solutions, though, always are like, well, you're going to make us have these kids, give us a bunch of money, right? And it's like, I'm not a socialist, right? I don't think that's the answer. But I also do think we have to do things to help those people and help those women and help those young families, right? Like there's a middle ground of, oh, hey, I'm going to be pro-life, but I'm so libertarian, I don't want to help anybody. And, well, I'm not pro-life, but if you're going to force these young women to have the children, then you need to do everything for them. There's a middle ground there, man. There's a middle ground, and I'm in that middle ground.
I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm in that middle ground. So I know they're trying to kind of get me with a couple specific questions that I'll say, this just isn't an issue. This is an issue I do. I follow politics, so I'm aware of some of it. So, honestly, to the callers that are trying to trip me up on it, I'm not with you, but I'm also not against you. Like, I think that there's something. And what I would say to those callers is, look, these are some of the issues that I would bring up to Republicans, and kind of instead of like tripping them up and like pinning them to the wall on it, I would say, hey, because if you just say, well, you need to do everything for them, I'm immediately going to go, I'm not going to do everything for anybody. But what are some of the things? Why don't you offer, I think this is a situation where some of the Democrats could offer up some positive changes that we could work on together to do that, and I encourage those ideas.
Good way to leave it, Greg. I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity.
20 minutes away from Tim, the Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you in part by General Hardware of Winfield and Milton and General Lumber of Winfield. If you're planning a project this spring, please shop locally. They're also hiring. Stop by any location for details. Visit generalhardwarewv.com. Back after this on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses live to make life better for you and your family.
Hi, this is Carrie Hudasek from 580 WCHS. WVRC Media and Huntington Banks are calling on you to lend a hand this Friday, April 12th. Your donations will directly support local families affected by the recent floods and tornadoes. You can be part of this mission. Visit redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make your donation. Join us Friday to make a real difference in the lives of our fellow West Virginians. Together with WVRC Media and Huntington Banks, we're investing in people first right here in West Virginia.
We need real conservatives in the House of Delegates. We need Mark Carter in District 57.
Hi, I am Mark Carter. As a conservative lawyer, I am a strong supporter of life, faith, and the Second Amendment.
Mark Carter was appointed to national offices by both President Donald Trump and President George W. Bush. Let's elect a new conservative Republican to the House.
I am Mark Carter, and I would appreciate your vote for House of Delegates.
Paid for by Mark Carter for West Virginia.
Thrive with 5 at the best community bank in the Kanawha Valley, Poca Valley Bank. Poca Valley Bank is now offering a certificate of deposit special, 10-month APY, annual percentage yield 5%. Take advantage of this great rate to grow your savings. For more information, stop by a Poca Valley Bank location today or call 844-782-2651. Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Certain terms and conditions apply. Rates based on minimum annual percentage yield. Subject to change without notice. Minimum deposit required of $10,000 of new money not currently on deposit with Poca Valley Bank to receive APY. Member FDIC.
Our children and families deserve leaders on the Kanawha County Board of Education, and Kate White is a leader that our families can trust. Kate White fights for safer schools for our kids and the best education for our children and teachers in Kanawha County. Kate White is a wife, a mother, and a leader in our community. Kate White understands our families and will deliver a world-class education for all of us. Let's vote for better education and a brighter future in Kanawha County. Let's vote for Kate White for Kanawha County Board of Education, paid for by the committee to elect Kate White for school board.
It is your time to shine, calling all athletes 50 years and older. This is Jim Strawn with the West Virginia Senior Sports Classic. It is back. The 30th annual West Virginia Senior Sports Classic is set for June at various venues around the Kanawha Valley. Basketball, track and field, volleyball, bowling, billiards, pickleball, and more. Register at WVSSC.com. You may qualify for the National Senior Games in Des Moines, Iowa next summer.
17 away from 10, West Virginia enriched in collaboration with Huntington invites you to witness the transformative power of Special Olympics. Take a few moments to be inspired and to join the collective effort in making a difference. Not just a story, it's a movement of hope, inclusivity, and triumph, reminded us all that every individual deserves a chance to shine in West Virginia and beyond. Huntington is truly making a difference right here at home. See a video highlighting the Special Olympics at facebook.com/580 WCHS. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Pinnacle Consultants. Whether you're replacing a roof, remodeling a kitchen, or replacing a bathroom, keep it safe, keep it legal. Get with Pinnacle Consultants. They can inspect your site, collect samples, perform lab analysis, and provide results within about a week. Testing all renovations for mold, asbestos, and lead is the law in West Virginia. Visit pinnaclecorp.net for Pinnacle Consultants, because what you don't know can hurt you. Text says, Dear Dave, speaking of political ads and Ashley Deem, could the producers of that TV spot not find a little smaller gun? Have you seen that thing? Cartoonishly huge. She looks ridiculous, says the texter. I'm not sure about the ad that they are referring to. Our phone calls to the show are a service of Biggly Piggly Wiggly. Texting services provided by Fruth Pharmacy, your hometown family pharmacy. Well, if you bleed blue and gold, I've got the event for you. It's happening this Saturday afternoon at 4 Points by Sheridan, sponsored by the WVU Alumni Chapter of the Greater Kanawha Valley. Eric Arnold is the president of the organization and joins us now. Eric, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave. How are you? Great to be on this always.
Thanks for being here. So what you got going on this Saturday, dude?
So this Saturday, we're happy enough to be teaming with the WVU men's soccer program and head coach Dan Stratford. Dan, if the name sounds familiar, was the head coach at UC in 2017 and 2019 when they won the national title. So, and last year, WVU men's soccer went to the Final Four. Well, at Schoenbaum Field at Coonskin Sunday, UC and West Virginia men's soccer are having sort of like a celebratory but competitive exhibition, 11 a.m. As part of that, Saturday, 4 to 6 p.m., we're sort of having a welcome home sort of celebration with the entire WVU men's soccer team. We'll have players there for autographs, pictures, raffles, and sort of hors d'oeuvres, and then we will have a cash bar, but it's open to all ages, free for admission, and sort of a state of the program, let Dan sort of address a lot of the people that have helped him get to this point from Charleston, and a lot of the Mountaineer faithful or friends of the program. Even if you're a Marshall fan or a EC fan, you're welcome to come. Because this is more of a celebration of what UC soccer has done throughout the state through the WVU men's soccer team at Dan.
Right, yeah.
It's a really cool time.
And Eric, I'll tell you, and again, this is happening at 4 Points by Sheridan on Saturday afternoon, and it's free to the public, open to all ages. And space is limited. We're going to give you information on how to get in on this coming up a little bit later on. But, Eric, I will have to admit it, I am not the biggest soccer fan in the world. But soccer is really exploding in popularity. I guess the U.S. is, and maybe West Virginia is catching up with the rest of the world, particularly here in the Mountain State. And you mentioned the success of not only the WVU soccer program, but University of Charleston, my alma mater, Marshall. I mean, it's a huge event here in West Virginia now, and a huge sport.
Yeah, it is. And, I think it's really sort of goes back, and I know I'm a WVU guy, but I grew up in Charleston first, and I've seen it. That UC program really, its leadership and the coaches that have developed through that program, and we have the national champion of Marshall. WVU got to the Final Four last year, and the UC is continuing to do great things. And it's really an incredible story of what consistency and development of one community around one program can do throughout a state. A number of team players get drafted from WVU into MLS. They had 3 first-rounders, which was the most last year. And then also, and when you think about it, you hear about NIL and donations and things. And while that's not what they're going to be talking about Saturday, your investment and your time into something like a soccer program can go a lot further than maybe football or basketball. So, and Dan will have an opportunity to speak on that and where the program's going. But it's a really exciting team for this program, and them and Marshall are in the same conference now.
Yeah. Dave Allen Show on 580 Live is brought to you part by Morgan & Morgan. With more than $20 billion recovered, they believe that when you're injured, you deserve more. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. I've got information posted, Eric, on my social media sites about this event, but where can people learn more? And you said space is limited. They need to sign up. What do they need to do to kind of make sure they have a place there Saturday?
Yeah, I'll let you handle that. I think the easiest way to do, you can go to our Facebook page, which is WVU Alumni of Greater Kanawha. You just search for it there. I'll say, and I don't mind giving out my cell phone number, 304-415-0431. To either call or text me. I don't mind that. Or you can email me at earnold@handl.com. That looks like handle without the E. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I want to say before we leave, Dave, we have two things coming up. Next week, we're going to be partnering with the city of Charleston with their a day of service through WVU for the Charleston cleanup on 4/20 and on May 4th, if you're interested in that. And I'm happy to announce that for football season coming up, I can say that we'll have a big outdoor bash for the backyard brawl on 9/14. If you were at the Bucket last year, you had a live band outside screen and a great turnout. So that'll be our big backyard brawl event. And then our friends at the Red Carpet sort of going to have a really big event there in October, but I can't speak on it yet. Okay. Stay tuned, follow us, and maybe I'll be back on it again.
All right. Yeah, Eric, you're always welcome. I'll have you back on as we get a little bit closer. I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. We'll see everybody Saturday. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. Thanks, guys.
All right. Eric Arnold, again, is the president of the Greater Kanawha Valley Alumni Chapter of West Virginia University. The event, of course, University of Charleston, West Virginia will have that exhibition. And then again, Saturday, they're inviting all soccer fans, whether you're WVU, UC, Marshall, whatever, show up at the 4 Points by Sheridan here in Charleston. Meet and greet with the staff and coaches of WVU. Lots of great food and drink, open to all ages. Sounds like a good time. So I appreciate Eric for taking time out of his schedule to join us. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Husson's Pizza. Get a large 18-inch pepperoni pizza and large tossed salad, only $20.99 at your favorite Husson's location. Text says, I wasn't trying to trip up Greg, just pointing out inconsistencies that should be made consistent, but it seems being consistent is a trippy obstacle. Also not a Democrat, says a texter. Texter says, Democrats should offer up ideas. The GOP has no interest in doing anything the Dems suggest, yet have no creative ideas of their own. They're just the party of no and telling people what they should do with no support. Greg knows how much Eric Tarr has blocked financial solutions to the foster care crisis, yet the GOP doesn't do anything to fix it themselves. Text says, Chris Miller for governor. Text says, two people who'll never be elected governor of West Virginia, Mac Warner and Steve Williams. Text says children in the womb should be dependents. Great idea. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk about the weather with Bryan Hughes coming up next on the Voice of Charleston, WCHS.
Brought to you by the Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses. Eric J. Tarr Family Businesses want to thank you for supporting local small businesses.
Trump's plan to stop woke gender ideology from poisoning our kids?
We'll investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks that participate in sex transitions of minor children.
And Big Pharma's lobbyists should be held accountable too, like Pat Morrissey. As a D.C. lobbyist, Morrissey helped steer taxpayer funds to a gender transition clinic for children and got rich lobbying for a drug company peddling puberty blockers. Morrissey's family still owns the D.C. firm that lobbies for a child transition provider with a clinic in West Virginia. Pro-trans liberal lobbyist. That's Pat Morrissey. The pro-Trump conservative businessman, Chris Miller. Miller supports Trump's plan to protect our kids.
As the father of an 11-year-old girl, you're darn right. I don't want her sharing a locker room with biological males. Woke doctors are literally practicing mutilation, not medicine, and they should be in prison. I'm Chris Miller, and I'll sign that law as governor.
Paid for by Miller for Governor.
For years, West Virginia had the most unfair legal system in the nation. Our state was on the judicial hellhole list 13 times in a row. And even though our legislature has made major improvements in legal reform, Attorney General Patrick Morrissey risks all of our progress. Patrick Morrissey has teamed up with greedy personal injury lawyers to sue local job providers. These lawsuits hurt jobs, increase consumer costs, and even threaten broadband expansion. In one recent case, personal injury law firms were paid $151 million. Our state leaders should be protecting our families, not making lawyers rich. Call Attorney General Patrick Morrissey at 304-558-2021. Please encourage him to support local job providers, not sue them. Paid for by West Virginia Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse. You can find out more about West Virginia Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse by visiting our website at westvirginiacala.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you part by Bridge Valley. If you're interested in improving your company's IT workforce, you may want to know Bridge Valley offers custom-tailored IT training to bridge the skills gap. At Bridge Valley, you can train for little or no cost with a 50-50 salary match. They can also supply skilled graduates and apprenticeships for your company. Visit bridgevalley.edu/apprenticeships today. Let's go back in time to last Tuesday, April 2nd, when we saw an outbreak of severe storms and tornadoes here in the Kanawha Valley. They keep adding to the number because of the research and whatever. We said something they really hadn't seen before, once-in-a-lifetime event. Well, apparently could be happening again today. Meteorologist Bryan Hughes from StormTracker 13. Brian, does it feel like you're back in Texas or back in the Midwest again, dude?
Listen, I thought, wow, this is really like me living my glory days back in Texas, for sure, because you don't have back-to-back week events with severe weather around here, but here we go. It's like we're going to do it again.
All right, so I know the weather is a moving target constantly, and you and Spencer and Chris and all of the folks do a great job, but as bad, worse, or better than last week?
Listen, we know we're going to have the individual thunderstorms develop this afternoon, and then some of those will be clusters, and then some of that develops into a line. We don't believe we're going to have anything like what we had last week. But we still are going to have some a few tornadoes in the region. Wind gusts will be in excess of 50 miles per hour in some cases, and we could have a line develop that might have a few more embedded small tornadoes in it, similar to last week. But we don't expect an event like last week where we've had 15 confirmed tornadoes across the National Weather Service Charleston's area. But yet at the same time, there's still more to count from that event. So I said last week, I promise we'll be up over 15, and we are at this point. So today is just going to be active, and it's really going to start to get its act together somewhere around 2 to 3 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, and that's what everybody wants to know. Somebody once told me when in broadcasting school in college, they said people don't want to know whether it's going to rain; they want to know whether it's going to rain on them. That's all they really care about is what does this have to do. And I'm guilty as anybody else. So you're looking at primarily after 2 o'clock, and the end time should be 9 o'clock or so. Is that what you said?
It could be as late as 9, but if things are shaping up the way some of the latest forecast model runs are happening, a lot of this could be wrapped up somewhere around between 7 and 8. But I think the sweet spot for us in the Kanawha Valley is going to be somewhere between 4 and 6. That'll be the sweet spot. But, we're going to watch those things developing, especially we see the forecast models are really locked on to thunderstorms starting to develop around Pikeville, Kentucky, and anything that develops there is going to move northeast, essentially just right up Corridor G. So, once the first one fires off, we may be on the air for, 2-3 hours, if not more, as we go into this afternoon, this evening.
But the long-range forecast I saw for next week, it's looking pretty darn good for next week. So we're just going to kind of be focusing that way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, next week's one of those weeks where you're like, I could sit out on a patio every single day and be happy as a clam. And so, next week we'll get to 80-degree temperatures. But today, all hazards are on the table. And that does actually include today flash flooding possibilities. But also, tornadoes are possible, a line of storms. Yes, they'll do damage. Yes, there'll be power outages. Do we want it like last week? No, but listen, we just got to roll with the punches here.
All right. Bryan, I appreciate you being here, man. You and Spencer and the team will do a great job, and hopefully we won't talk to you soon. How's that?
That sounds good. Tomorrow morning, you'll know how bad it was, whether I'm wearing my glasses or not.
That's a telltale sign. If you got the glasses on, it was a long night. All right, Bryan, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good.
All right. Again, it's Bryan Hughes from StormTracker 13. Just be safe and be careful out there today. The Dave Allen Show on 580 Live, brought to you in part by Live Healthy West Virginia, presented by WVU Medicine. Live Healthy is a podcast tackling some of the leading health issues, heart disease, diabetes, and more. It offers insights into medical breakthroughs and preventative care, featuring WVU Medicine's expert physicians aimed at fostering healthier lifestyles in and beyond the state. It's a valuable resource for all. Discover the latest episodes on WVMetronews.com. Under the podcast menu, start your journey towards better health today. Let me see. Got some text to get to. Texas. Speaking of political ads, the ads in the Putnam County House District race between Kathy Hess-Krause and Debbie DeWeese should be called the Battle of the Breasts. On each medal, the breasts get larger and larger. I can't believe I just read that on the air. I just read that on the air. Text says, what openings do you have for candidates to come in? Email me, dave.allen@wvradio.com. Dave.allen@wvradio.com, and we'll take it from there. Text says, the only one running for governor that's not going to put out social issues on the people is Steve Williams. So, well, it could be argued that he did yesterday. I mean, but I understand what the I have said that I think the next governor of the state of West Virginia, no matter who comes out of those four, is going to be a Republican. But I think Steve Williams is going to do better than people think. I really, really do. And I'll get into that in a future show. All right, got to go. Need to wrap it up. But I do want to remind you that coming up on the show, Hoppy and Rex Repass, not on my show, on the other show, the one after this. Hoppy and Rex Repass coming up at 10:06 with Talkline from the Encova Insurance Studios in the Dale Miller Building in Morgantown. The results of the West Virginia poll and the Republican nomination for governor. Fresh new results. I don't even know what they are, but they're going to tackle them. Top of the show coming up at 10:06. Also, Ryan Schmeltz and Jared Halper from Fox News Radio will be on the show today, as well as Brad McElhenney and others. Tomorrow, I've got Hannah Gardner from the Kanawha Charleston Humane Association with the Adopt Me Please Pet of the Week. Michael Lipton from the West Virginia Music Hall of Fame will stop by. They have a big event going on this weekend. I'm going to tell you all about that. Michael and I will. And we're going to have more on some storm cleanup. Hopefully we don't add more to the storms coming up as we are teaming up with the Red Cross. We're tackling last week's storms, not today's. So we'll do that some other time. Got to go. My producer, Dale Cooper, thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Till then, have fun and love somebody.
WCHS AM, 96.5 FM Charleston, and 104.5 Cross Lanes.
A WVRC media station.
We're proud to live here, too.